Hey everybody, welcome back. Hey, I'm doing this outdoors because my AC broke in the house and it's just too damn hot. So here I am coming up to you tonight, but I'm doing a recap on my idea of bringing the immigrant asylum seekers here into the U.S. And one of the biggest things that I was talking about was the investment that it took into bringing migrants into the U.S., but placing them in in a locations to populate. And what I meant by that was the abandoned towns. It turns out here in Texas we've got over 500 abandoned towns that could be populated. The problem is that they're towns that Americans just don't want. Um, they are, they are, some of them are still running off of the pumping out of the water out of the wells kind of towns, and having to bring up dirty mud, earth, and water to boil in order to get it cleaned. You know, and then you have some where there's just no internet available. The Wi-Fi, particularly in the hills. I noticed in the hills, it's very difficult to get Wi-Fi unless you got a satellite. You know, and to top it all off, some of the places that people don't want anymore are areas where, like, it could be a nice hilltop, scenic, whatever, but after one rainstorm, you're having to stay there because the down below at the bottom of the hill, it's flooded out. You can't cross the road. There's also, again, the big thing is just zero Wi-Fi. Also, natural areas, like a lot of the abandoned towns are out in the West Texas, where it's mostly desert. Water is very hard to come by. And it's just a very difficult thing to deal with the heat. So again, if you put these migrants, these asylum seekers into towns, we're also it's also a big boost for American jobs, particularly law enforcement is one of them. Medical industry is another. There's also something flying around above my head here. I don't know what that is, but okay, I guess it's a reflection of something up there on the window, on the windshield. Okay, but yeah, I mean, you got room for even government agents and community workers, to look after and do all the paperwork and the vetting for vetting processing stuff for the migrants. And again, we're placing them in places, in towns, abandoned towns, areas that America just doesn't want. Americans don't want. Okay, it's not hip enough. It's not productive enough. It's not progressive enough. There's no Wi-Fi, and again, the cooling weather, weather elements that hit the spot. The high plains, you're subjected to tornadoes. Up in North Texas, where the plains areas are. East Texas, it's very hot and humid. You can die of heat stroke. In East Texas, you can die of hypothermia after all of your heat burns off in the middle of summer. In East Texas and South Texas as well. But these towns that were once booming at some point in time, they're nothing but ghost towns now, and they're abandoned. And some places, all that's left is just the frame of a house. But nevertheless, if you can put the asylum seeking migrants there and have them stay there for a probationary period to work and make their own rooftops, to make their own shelters and all this stuff, yeah, I'm sure we wouldn't have a problem with being, having a problem. I think it would be a big boost to the economy to have American jobs being placed over there for law enforcement, medical, education. Teachers have a place to teach. Any stuff that I'm really not thinking of right now. But to top it all off, education and training jobs that could teach our migrants to be tax-paying citizens. Okay, while they're in this process of vetting, I mean, really, in structural jobs, I'm not saying let's give them big houses and stuff, especially seeing as how, like, over a lot of people are like, well, what about the veterans and all them? Well, yeah, definitely give that to them. But remember, these are veterans. They don't need to go out into West Texas deserts to, to suffer the heat and trials of survival and all that. They need to stay here in the city. We need to give them the apartment or house or condominium or townhouse, whatever it is that they earned, and all that stuff. Because here's where everything is: the stores, variety of eateries, banks, a variety of banks and gas stations, fuel stations, entertainment, whether it be theater or these modern day arcades, where you're playing video games with just a controller remotely to a big screen on the wall, the modern day arcades and stuff like that. I mean, here's where you got axe throwing down here. You got, the escape room, theaters and performances, live community, college, performances. The nightclubs are here, a variety of bars, a variety of nightclubs and all that good stuff, a variety of shows, movies, live acts, live bands, DJ places and all this good stuff, salsa, merengue, and over in those little abandoned towns, you got nothing but what you take with you and the need to survive. Okay, and I think that is perfect for asylum seekers while we keep our veterans here, while we house the homeless that we've got here. One of the things about the homeless down here in San Antonio, as well as many cities, is that in order to get a house given to you through the charities, one of the rules that you got to follow is that you got to be clean. And if you know anything about a drug addiction, easier said than done. Okay. So we got to keep our homeless here. We got to have them go through rehab programs here. We got those clinics that we've got here now. We've got like 2 or 3 of them that I've seen, where they all get in line and they all get their habitual breaker dosages, where they decrease throughout the course of time, and you slowly get out of a drug addiction. So we got to keep them here. We got to house them. We got to keep them here, getting them through the programs and all that good stuff. I'm talking about the asylum seekers that need a new life because they got ran out of their country. Okay, now they'll have to start over. This is true. However, if you put them in a town, an abandoned town, where they will literally start over in a pioneer days kind of style, technically they will find a way to survive. And I honestly believe that it's the best way. It's the best boom to the economy here. It's a great investment for us and our political leaders to do, for businesses to venture out while they have jobs over there, to venture out and set up stores and all this good stuff. It's and employ them as well, if not, especially if they're in areas where Americans just don't want to be in. Okay, by transforming them into places like this, well, maybe we'll have less of overpopulated cities again, and everything levels out, but that's just here in Texas. I forgot how many prisons we're no longer using. There's state prisons, federal prisons, probationary prisons that are not being used as criminals have gotten tougher and tougher. More stronger structural prisons are needed. Hold more resistance for criminals to escape. as opposed to the old 20 to 30 to 40-year-old prisons that were that are only 2-story high, 4-story high, and one watchtower at best. Well, those are emptied out and they're not being used for anything. On a technical level, and I can't remember how many there was. I can't remember. I think there's like 27 or 27 in Colorado. There's 17 here in Texas. There's a whole mess of them that are just not being used anymore. You put asylum seeker migrants in there, you reactivate the plumbing, you put on some power generators to where they can actually live and breathe and stuff. You got yourself a little village inside what used to be a state penitentiary, and it's got that cyclone fencing 12 feet high with barbed wire on top. You can actually put American law enforcement there as guardians to make sure that there's no traffickers coming to kidnap them and claim them and stuff. So you can actually transform them into, make them into little bitty villages in those state penitentiaries. Okay, and again, while keeping our veterans, disabled veterans, and all them here in our cities, where they can have their living choice and all this stuff. Should they go through the paperwork? Should they sober up? Should they clean up and all this good stuff? Should they follow the rules here? There'll be no interference with either or. And for the record, technically, housing homeless veterans and disabled veterans is an entirely different bank account, financial account, from housing asylum seekers. Okay, let's get that straight right now. Those are entirely different accounts, policies, and finances that go to those two different whatchamacallits. I'm gonna shut this off because it's getting hot in here, and I'll lean forward to the light. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a brilliant way. This is a recap off of the bone to pick with our political leaders, both Republicans and Democrats. They suck right now. They're not taking total advantage of the fact that we can house the homeless and the migrants and all these veterans and all that stuff by way of placing them and populating abandoned towns and having them, circumvent themselves into a part of the U.S., as citizens by using them, using those locations to vet them, and then once they become, citizens, then let them migrate and move to other states, where they can join us here in the populace, and worry about their bills and deadlines and all that good stuff, and clocking on the time clock and punching in and out of the time clock and all that, no different than the rest of us. Okay, the home care, house insurance, and Medicaid and all that good stuff. Your HMOs and all that. Then they could come join us in worrying about all that kind of crap. But nevertheless, we have a great way of boosting more American jobs by taking care of them and watching over the asylum seekers that we could put in abandoned towns, especially since they're towns that Americans just don't want. Okay? It just doesn't want. I'll give you another history. It's like, how is that possible? How would anybody not want to move into a town that's abandoned and claim it themselves and all that stuff? This is true. There's a town that's only worth $100,000. You can buy a whole town for $100,000. It's in West Texas, where the heat is intense, water is scarce, so you'll have to make your own hydroponic system or something like that. Aquaponic system. You'll have to have your own power because the electric utilities doesn't run through it. Not like the way it did back in the 1800s when oil was the big boom thing over there. But those wells ran dry. The water that was over there was used for fracking, and it's all contaminated water now. And that's if it hasn't dissipated and rotted the soil of the earth. But nevertheless, It's a whole town that you could buy for only a third of a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house here in San Antonio. Now, if you don't want to go through that, well, let's put the asylum seekers there. Let's have them run their own water and clean it out and all that good stuff. Let's have them grow their own vegetables and all that. You see tons of them in the farming plantation states. They can't do that for themselves in a little bitty town? Come on. They can't grow their own food? Come on. A whole community working together, seeking asylum, working to vet themselves so that way they can come out here and join us into the real world. You telling me that that's not possible? Come on. Come on. Again, they're in towns that America just doesn't want. So invest it. I've talked to our political leaders and seeing if we can invest in that. You know, let's put them there to start their trial basis to come out here into the States after they've earned that right, after seeking asylum and being run out of their own country. Okay? So I've taken up a lot of time. I'm going to try to keep it under 20 minutes this time. I tried doing that last time. I tried keeping it under half an hour, and I wound up doing 48 billion minutes and stuff. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go, because the AC is still out, and I think it's still pretty hot out here in the house. I'm just going to drive around for a little bit and let the cool air lower my body temperature. The Atmos should drop soon enough. It's going to be a small while till I can get that fixed. So don't be surprised if you see me in here again and in a parking lot. I'm in a department store parking lot, just enjoying the night air right now. Don't be surprised you see me doing these late night things again. And we'll catch you later. But just think about it. If you got any kind of connection or any kind of way of contacting our political leaders, try throwing this subject out there. Also, take a look at the state that you're in. You know, how many prisons are not being used anymore because they're just too weak and they can't hold our current criminals that are stronger naturally in this day and age, way stronger than they were 30 years ago, 20 years ago. You know, we've got so many enhancements that's made us stronger and all that stuff, so they can actually carve their way out and dig their way through and all this good stuff, you know, especially out of an old whatchamacallit that isn't even useful anymore. You know, ask your politicians about those prisons. See if we can turn them into little villages for the asylum seekers, you know, who are in a fenced surrounding area, so we can protect them while keeping them, should they be criminals or decide to be criminals or whatever, from coming out. And they could be arrested and they could be sent to an actual prison where they belong if they're criminals, instead of asylum seekers. You know, talk to your politicians, spread the word, and let's see what we can do about that. I have no idea where to take it, but that's also the reason why I'm posting it out here on the internet, seeing if anybody out there knows. If you know, respond. I'm going to leave my email. If you know, but just please don't bitch. Just, talk to me, share with me any kind of information, But as far as bitching and spitting and all this other crap and this sucks and you suck and I'm just going to erase you and block you. I want the constructive stuff. That's why this is called Chris's Comments, a show of common sense on common ground. Okay? And that's what it's there for. And the rest of you out there who agree, start up a podcast. Start speaking your mind as well. If this is reasonable, if this is unreasonable, this is reasonable only to a certain extent, but you want to know about a different avenue and all this other crap, or you want to point that, well, point that out. And if you actually develop a podcast pointing this out, put it into the comments section or email me, because this is going to be on YouTube, and I'm going to put my email on there. Put it on the email, lay a suggestion, lay out a information, direction. I could always use some good direction. especially when we're getting these ideas out to the public. And now I just broke the 20-minute mark. Sorry about that. Especially getting this idea out to the political leaders. You guys, write down, write it on the email or put it in the comments. Just simply put it in the comments. And that's it. So that's my take on a bone to pick with the political leaders. But it's going to be titled differently. It's literally going to say, let's give the asylum seekers or the abandoned towns to the asylum seekers. Sorry, I'm just getting distracted with all the traffic in the air. There's some flying choppers. But yeah, that's what it's going to be called. I hope you enjoy. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. Keep taking care of each other, okay? This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.